Mario Andretti got a little pep in the step of that song. You've heard that a few times, right? Uneasy Rider for the Charlie Daniels Band. Mario Andretti joining us here on Query & Company on Fast Friday for the Fan. All right, I asked you just going into it, the race that sticks in your mind the most that was not 1969 when you won here was which one?
Well, the one that comes to mind clearly and immediately is 1987, driving for Newman Haas. And with the Lola I had, my engineer was Adrian Newey, whom I consider one of the top ever, as far as really understanding every aspect of a race car, suspension dynamics, aerodynamics. And anyway, if you look at the record, I was pretty much quickest every single day on the track, on pole, and I think I led 171 of 178 laps that I was in, and I had one and a half lap lead on Al Unser and
Roberto Guerrero would have been running up there, right?
yeah. But again, I dropped the valve. I was, really trying to run conservative on the revs, and that's what bit me. Because unbeknownst to me, I was running in the bed harmonics of the engine. If I would have been pushed for the lead or something, it would have been better. Because I needed to be like 400 revs more, and that's against everything that everybody's been telling me. I was cruising home. The car was so good throughout the run, from full tanks to empty. I never had a car that stayed, neutral to me, and I could really get after it and very easily. So, again, that was the biggest disappointment because that race was totally in my pocket.
So, in other words, the car that year, if it was a racehorse, it's saying, no, let's go more. I got more here, right? Is that basically what happened?
Oh, I had more, yeah. I didn't need it.
Here's the thing. That has to be one of the few times where Mario Andretti actually said, I'm backing off, right? Because it's
yeah. I didn't have to. I didn't have to run 100%, obviously, and there's no better position to be in. At the time, the car was really working under me. So, like I said earlier, when we were talking about it, I said, starting that race, something very, very rare that you could think, today they have to beat me. In other words, if the car fails me, that's the only way they can beat me. That's how confident I was, with that, which is rare. But, to answer your question, that's the one.
Mario, during the break, I've gotten all kinds of messages from one of my oldest brothers who is going to turn 68 this year. He remembers you coming to where he went to grade school, St. Jude, and speaking to him when you were a rookie on the circuit, to cousins of mine that are texting in. I remember growing up because of you, rooting for the Andretti family in any capacity, and this circuit and the Speedway itself meaning so much to me and my family because of you. That's generation on generation because of what you've done for the sport and what Andretti Racing has done for the sport. What does that mean to you to be able to put that in perspective, knowing decade after decade there's still people that, because of your impact, love this sport so much?
Well, look at it this way. That's the highest compliment that I could have. And then on the other side, it's my fault if you follow this. But I'll take that. Again, if all I know is what it means, what it has meant to my family on both sides. Aldo and I used to say, that we're the ones that started this mess, and then as a family, look at 1991, 92. There were four of us that qualify for this race,
Jeff, Michael, John, Mario, right?
Yeah, that's it. Jeff, Michael. And the pride is there for sure. And and it continues. Look at the way Michael now, he's usually been, the last few years, been entering, 4, 5, 6 entries, for this race. So, and, he was another one that was denied because of reliability factor. He dominated this race. Boy,
that 92 race.
Yeah, it's, he had more of those. But anyway, I keep telling Michael, I said, both you and I were born too early. I said, because the style of driving for us would have been today, because we were just flat out from the word go, so we didn't have much patience. And with the reliability of today's engines, today's cars, it would have paid off for us, much more than it did then. And so, but it is what it is. It's still, I look back at all the laps that I led more laps at all but one of the 4-time winners, so that's my satisfaction ultimately, that I got satisfaction out of every race that I entered here. So that's what I got to go with.
But you won everything. You're a Formula One world champion. You've done everything around the world, and your name is undoubtedly, and I've said this to you 50 times probably, but your name is the most famous race car driver of all time. It has become a euphemism for speed. So does the fact that you are the Indianapolis 500 champion, is that the thing that you put as the top of your pedestal?
Well, it's certainly at the top, but that year I won national championship as well. I look a lot more premium at the overall season. Right. Of course, the star of the season was Indy, but, like in '69 with that championship, I won races, super speedway, short oval, on the dirt even, which counted for the points. I won even Pikes Peak, and I won a road course. And that was the ultimate satisfaction for me, to be able to, put my mark in there in all the different aspects of that season, which was extremely versatile, So that's what I got, my ultimate satisfaction as a driver.
For those that are unaware, Mario Andretti is our guest here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Andretti Global is the name of the team that your son owns, Michael Andretti, formerly Andretti Autosport. Andretti Global, of course, because the team is going exactly that, with the aspirations of Formula One. And I know that you have championed that as well, to get that team into Formula One, and yet for whatever reason it is being blocked, I'll say, for lack of a better phrase. What is your understanding as to why that entry has not yet been allowed, and where do things stand?
Well, in the short, we don't totally understand exactly why. We think we know, but we're not being told directly, except that they keep saying that we don't bring value or something like that to the series. But we're going flat out, and preparing. So, once we're given the green light, we don't want to start from scratch. That Michael, and his partners, they have the faith that the reason will prevail ultimately. And so they have a facility in England already all set to go, and we have a lot of progress. So in other words, the objective is to be on the grid in 2026 with the new rules, and once we're given the go, we'll be there.
Is it a bias against having an American team, or is it a bias against having the Andretti name? I can't imagine why that would be, but what would your gut tell you?
I'm telling you, Jake, if I really had a clear vision, a clear understanding, what was the issue, because we comply with every aspect of the technical side, satisfy the FIA, and so on the commercial side, all of a sudden that's where, and we're ready to obviously go with whatever is on the so-called Concord Agreement, and if they want to change the rules, that's our issue. But we're complying with everything that's put in front of us. So I don't know what else to do.
What is one thing that throughout your entire career you're surprised you don't get asked about more often?
Why are you at so many races?
Because you still want to get in the car, right? Why are you?
Because I just keep dreaming about being in a race car.
You miss it?
Oh, heck. I'm dealing with it, and that was my biggest fear when I, made a decision to retire, because I felt that I didn't want to overstay. I wanted to have, a positive memory of my, last days as an active driver, and I think I accomplished that. But like my wife always said, I hope you can readjust to that. And my body actually acted kind of strange because even, a professor there actually was interested in what was happening to me. He said, I think your body has been living for so long, most of your life on adrenaline, that now it thinks that you're dead.
So you got to go find new adrenaline, right?
And like, when I first got in a race car again in 2003, when I got upside down here, I thought I died and went to heaven, because, all of a sudden I was in my element. It's amazing how that reacted on me, but there was a portion of my life that really huge change, but I'm learning to deal with it. But I feel that because of Michael being involved, all the disciplines, I feel that when I go to a racetrack, I have a home. And that's why, if I go to a Formula One race, I don't have a home yet. So I want to have a home again. And that's part of it. That's what satisfies me.
Mario, you were saying in the break, we were sitting here chatting, and you were saying you try just not to dwell on bad things. You try not to have a bad day, right? You have this glow about you. But yet the reality is, Mario Andretti, that the last handful of years, I would imagine have tested that. I mean, I know family is very important to you. And, we know that you lost your nephew, John, and your wife and your brother, Aldo. Were there times where it has been tough and where you have had to truly dig deep to continue the same optimism and faith?
Yes, I mean, it's, indeed. I mean, again, and my sister as well, So, there was a terrible period, of course. And but these are the things that in life you cannot control, obviously. But you cannot be positive about that, But it's part of life, and you have to accept those moments, But the things that I feel that I can control, I just try to stay on the positive side, for sure.
And I would imagine, and even as a racer, I think you were pretty scrupulous and true to staying towards your faith and your belief in that, which obviously has to have carried you for the last handful of years.
No question about it. I never felt that I did it alone. I always felt that I had some help, and we had an uncle priest on my side, and I know that he looked after me for so long, and he missed up a little bit on my brother, but something was working for me, and again, I take nothing for granted there.
You go back and you think about your father, and I love, one of the things I love about you, Mario Andretti, is when you post each year, because I can see what it means to you, the celebration of the anniversary of when you became a legalized citizen, right?
Yes.
And when you were how old when you moved from Italy?
When we left Italy, I was 15.
Okay.
When we arrived here in the States, 15.
And if I'm not mistaken, your dad didn't necessarily want you and your twin brother Aldo racing at first, right?
No, he was. That was a father's. The sport was obviously had so many fatalities.
Right.
That's all that he knew. He was not a race fan, and he felt that kids be real. You're gonna come home in a body bag, from one of the races. So, but he came around and he was the biggest fan and everything. Then later, after that, then he said, "Why aren't you winning every race?" You know what I mean? He didn't understand that part either.
When was the moment that you realized that you kind of had the epiphany that your father had given his approval to your career?
Well, actually, I was in Trenton, New Jersey when I got my first ride in the Champ Car, very first time. And first time I was on a mile track with a Roadster in 1964, and he was there, and I finished 11th, and I thought that was really a good start for me. And he was disappointed. He thought that I should have done a lot better. So you can see that. God bless him.
So Dad had a little racer in him too, right?
Yeah, but he didn't really understand, that this is not a simple business, But that was that. And like I said, once he realized that Aldo and I were all in, then obviously he became a big fan.
You mentioned your curiosity of what life would be like after racing and into retirement. For drivers that get close to that point, or for people in general, that can be a tough transition, what advice would you give them when they reach that point where something you've done maybe your whole life has ended, but it does open up a new chapter as well, and that can be scary.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's just that this is such a personal thing, because, I give you an example. I think Michael, for instance, he was at the top of his game as a driver, and he looked at the business side of it. He thought, because that could be for a long, long time, and he became a car owner immediately. And he's totally happy with that. So we all have different objectives. We all love the sport in different ways. So I don't know what advice I could really give. Just try to be happy with whatever you pursue, I know that, again, with me, I stayed in the sport as long as it was anywhere reasonable. I mean, I stayed at the top level until I was 53, but I raced at 24 Hours of Le Mans, the last race, when I was 60, and I would have tried to qualify when I was 63, because Tony Kanaan had, a wrist injury in Japan, and I was filling in for him, in case I would have to qualify. Like I've had guys qualify for me, Dennis Firestone and Wally Dallenbach qualified for me while I was in Monaco, back in the 70s. So anyway.
78, right? I think, was that the year that was?
Yeah, but twice they had to qualify for me while I was in Monaco.
So in 81, are you still wearing the 81 ring there? Love it. So Mario Andretti wins the race in 1969. You come back in 1981. Everybody knows the story of the controversy with you and Bobby Unser at the end of the race. And Bobby Unser is declared the winner. Then they go back and they say, no, wait a minute, Mario Andretti won. I had posted once on social media, and you responded to it, and I'm kicking myself I didn't bring it. When I went to that race, the first race that I attended was 1981. And afterwards, for school, I was in I would have been in the first grade, and I wrote a paper about the 1981 race, and I said Bobby Unser won the race, but he passed cars when he shouldn't, and that's a no-no, and so Mario Andretti is the winner. And my mom found that initial school report that I wrote and had it framed and laminated for me, and I figured you absolutely would give me an A+ on that school project, right? Because I said Mario Andretti is the winner of the race.
You're darn right. Well, Jake, I actually, by the rule book, I won that race because I was actually the first official winner because I got noticed 5 in the morning when Jim McGee, my chief mechanic, says they penalize Bobby based on the rule book. I mean, even Jim McKay and Jackie Stewart, even when he was passing those cars, 11 cars under the yellow, I said, you can't do that. You can't do that. They even knew then. But in those days, today they would give you,
an in-race penalty, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but in those days, no computer and everything else, they had. I was always traditionally go through the tape. That's why the race was never official until 5 in the morning, and then it took 6 months, depositions and everything else, and then Roger Penske's lawyers, got USAC to agree with bringing in 3 outside judges to make a final decision. And the final decision was, yes, he commit the infraction, but the penalty is too severe, so they fined him $40,000 and they gave him the race back. But it gets better, and I'll say this: the following year, after the drivers' meeting, I raised my hand and I asked Tom Binford, who was the race director, I said, if I pass 11 cars under the yellow today and cross the finish line first, is the fine still $40,000? And he said, oh, no. I said, so the rule book will apply this year, but it didn't apply last year. And, to his credit, he says, Mario, I penalized him as a race director. He said, but I was overridden, And so that was the part that I could never accept. That because, I love Bobby, we're good buddies, but, I blame USAC at the time, because they allowed outsiders to come in and determine and change the rule book.
Did it fracture your friendship for a while with Bobby Unser?
Well, he thought that it did because he felt guilty.
Yeah.
But
did he ever ask for the ring back?
hell no. I mean, okay, this. I don't know if they gave him another one, but I was not going to give the ring back.
And so, in the end, obviously, the two of you, take me through the process of, I'll say making up. I mean, maybe that was more on Bobby Unser's end, but, Bobby Unser was such another wonderful personality here, and the loss of Bobby Unser, and just, were you glad that things had been made up by the time that we lost Bobby Unser?
Oh, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, I never blamed him. I just blamed the organization. He did what he could, and Roger did, They were allowed to protest and everything else. I blame USAC as a sanctioning body for allowing that, that was a stain as far as I'm concerned, because if they would have changed the rule book, okay, the following year, all right, if you pass, somebody across the finish line, okay, $40,000 the fine, then I would have accepted that, but not the same only in that situation. So, I mean, there were examples of Johnny Parsons, had the best finish. He passed, it was less of an infraction. The next day, he went from second to seventh, I think. And
I'd pass 22 cars and just pay the $80,000, right?
Yeah.
Call it a day, right?
I do that all day.
Okay, lastly, Mario, on this Fast Friday, and watching the speeds right now, Chevrolet 1 through 7 on the speed charts, what are we seeing? What do we anticipate? Just your overall thoughts now down the home stretch here of these practice sessions before qualifying.
Well, it's exciting. Qualifying is one thing. The race is something else, obviously, but nothing like starting up front as far as I'm concerned. And it's amazing now. It's really telling us something that the Chevys at the moment at least seems to have some advantage on the Hondas, and well, I hope we can somehow figure that out.
Would you rather have a little bit extra speed or a car that you can go further on a stent because of fuel efficiency?
Well, I think again, all of that plays for the long term, for the long race, obviously. Just because you're starting up front doesn't mean you're guaranteed to finish there. There are other factors in the race, but from my standpoint, I'll take power and speed anytime.
Every year at Christmas, Mario, and this is Christmas for a lot of people out here, right? I mean, this is Christmas time.
For sure.
But every year at Christmas, the best tradition, I think, going on social media is you post your Christmas tree, and then you ask people to share theirs. And the thing that I think is so wonderful about it is people share with you their little family tradition, or sometimes very modest Christmas trees, and you make every single one of those people feel like gold by simply finding something in their photo that is special.
Keeps me busy. At that time, we started that, and we just decided to keep the tradition because it seemed like it caught on somewhat, and if people want to stay in touch in that fashion, I welcome it.
But do you grasp the warmth it gives people?
You're not kidding. Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, that's to me that's the ultimate element. I mean, there's nothing makes you feel better than that, quite honestly.
Then helping people out and making them smile. That's what it's all about, right?
That's all.
And you continue to do it, which is impressive. Two-time winner of the Indy 500, Mario Andretti, right?
You bet.
1969. I got to get a picture of the ring, by the way. I do it every year, but I got to get. It's fabulous, Jimmy.
It's awesome.
They presented you the ring. When did they present it?
You got to see. Oh, I got the ring.
Was it the next day?
No, I got it at the banquet. Yeah. Yeah, everything. I got the ring.
Hold on, I got to get Kurt Darling out of the photo. All right, give me a smile with that 81 there. That is just the best. Mario Andretti. Mario, enjoy it today, all right? And enjoy qualifying as well. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
the 1969 and 1981 winner of the Indianapolis 500, Mario Andretti.